Hello and welcome to Ham Nation episode 502. And hello again. Thanks so much for clicking on the Ham Radio Crash Course and tonight's episode of Ham Nation, which is episode 502. This is September 1st, so we're kicking off, I guess, back to school week for a lot of kids. Mine already went back to school, but yeah, busy week. But let's open it right up, bring up the wonderful hosts here, starting out with Dawn. How you doing, Dawn?
Hey, good to be here. Thanks a lot. We've got some good stuff from Amateur Radio Newsline. A little bit of sad news, too, for the Amateur Radio Newsline family. We don't have anything from Dr. Scove tonight, but we do have all the news of the week, and it's going to be a good show. So we're here.
Right on. Well, thanks for being here, Don. I appreciate it. Gordo, how are you this week?
All is fine in Southern Cal other than the smoke, which luckily is not blowing our direction, but you'll smell it all the way to the East Coast, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've got notification that a lot of our forests are basically shut down for recreational usage at this point, which is kind of tough for everybody that likes to get out there. This is actually a good time to get out there in the Pacific Northwest. So, Randy joining us. How are you this week?
I'm doing fine. I'm here on the Oregon coast. We have no smoke here. We've only had like 3 days of some smoke this summer. Get a pretty good wind from the north. And I'm going to talk about some of the QSL cards I received here. And I think some of them are from our viewers from our 500th special event thingy we did.
Well, thanks again. Thanks again for being here. And Amanda, rounding it out. How are you doing?
You know, you guys have sent all of that smoke our way, so Colorado's suffering, and we don't really have any wildfires ourselves. We have one that's 400 acres. Other than that, it is very, very smoky here this week, and it's a shame about the national parks being shut down because this is the weekend of all weekends to go out and go camping, and us ham radio people, we love to stick an antenna up in a tree, and Jeff and I will be doing that this weekend. We'll also be on the Colorado QSO party, so listen out for us. And looking forward to doing that camper portable. But other than that, stick around. I'll be talking to you all in chat. So I'll be trying to give your questions to the host as well as have some fun conversation. And speaking of fun conversation, I had one with Bob Heil the other day. And our favorite time of year is here. I mean, I know it's very depressing to get to September and to see summer go away. But there's a fun event that starts on the radio, and that's Route 66, right? We all love it, and Bob's going to talk to us. He sent us a video, and then I think Gordo's going to wrap it up as well, talking about some Route 66. So, Josh, take it away.
Yeah, I think we're going to go to Dawn, though, right? We're in the beginning here. So,
yes,
Dawn's got a bit of a... So, Dawn's actually got a lot to talk about, so that's why we bumped him right to the front.
I do.
So much.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry, Dawn.
That's all right.
Want to mention in the chat, a lot of caffeinated radio people in the house. So thanks for going over and saying hi on the show tonight, guys, in the chat. Appreciate it. So, Dawn, take it away.
Yeah, thanks a lot. We're going to talk first off about Hurricane Ida and exactly what's going on. So let me go ahead and get my screen shared here so you can see what we're talking about. There we go. Drop that down. So here is what is going on, what we experienced with Hurricane Ida. So that is the forecast track versus the actual track. You see the actual track in red there, and the forecast track is in yellow. So Hurricane Ida took a drastic jog to the east, and that messed up New Orleans pretty bad, as a matter of fact, and a lot of other people as well. We weren't expecting too much in New Orleans, maybe some hurricane force winds, but with that about a 30-mile jog to the east, you see that that put New Orleans, that would be the eye right about there. So yeah, that was bad news for New Orleans. And as you can see, we had 16 hours of hurricane force winds through the state of Louisiana. And you can see down here, these are Category 4, and then it took this jog, Category 3, Category 3, Category 2, Category 1, and we'll get to that right now. Category 4, 130 to 156. It came across as a 150. So we still had winds, even with a Category 3, of about 111 to 129 mile an hour winds. Category 2 up to 110. So yeah, it was pretty bad, and a lot of bad things that went on. It made landfall at Port Fourchon right around noon time, and Port Fourchon is Port Fourchon and Grand Isle, which Grand Isle is a barrier island, and there isn't much there, and Grand Isle took a lot of damage down there. These are some of the pictures from Port Fourchon and Grand Isle. You see a boat on its side, and that's not a good thing.
I couldn't even tell that was a boat. That was a boat? Wow.
That's a boat on its side, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like a shrimp boat. And anyway, this is some of the damage from down around the coast. Just bad news down here, it really was. And that car probably isn't going to start anytime soon. So, and as you can see, a boat is a good thing to have down here, especially if you live down along the coast. And that's probably around Houma, Louisiana, which is where my son was born, by the way. And there you can see some of the wind and waves coming over the seawall. So yeah, it was bad news. And what you're seeing here, that is a 1,999-foot FM broadcast tower, tallest in the state of Louisiana. That's what's left of it. One section.
Wow.
It fell. And what you see here is an Entergy power distribution line. That is the line that goes, actually, it's a transmission line that goes to the distribution lines, and then those get transformed down into the lines that go to your house. So that's probably, I don't know, 40,000 volts, something like that, whatever those transmission lines are. That's a 400-foot tower. And you can see the red line is the span going across the Mississippi River from one transmission tower to the other. That is 3,800 feet. Here's that tower. And if you look down here in the red circle, see it buckling? And you can see a buckle right here. 1 second later, it's gone. 8 high tension lines across the river. That is the tower now. There are approximately 1 million people in the city of New Orleans, and actually all around the greater New Orleans area, who are without power. What we're looking at here, this is New Orleans. This is the North Shore. Right here is Lake Pontchartrain. Baton Rouge is right here. And right here in this area here, approximately 1 million people are without power. We'll get in a little bit closer. Over here is Kenner. The New Orleans airport's right around here. You got Metairie. You got the city of New Orleans right here. You've got Lakeview right here. The Lakefront Airport is right about here. This is the Causeway Bridge that goes across Lake Pontchartrain, 29-mile bridge. It is the longest bridge over water in the world. There are 8 miles in the middle of this where you cannot see land. It is a very, very long bridge, and there are a lot of people on the North Shore up here who are without power as well. New Orleans East out here, and Chalmette, St. Bernard Parish. This is where we lived right here before Katrina, and this is New Orleans. This is the West Bank across the river. It's odd that the West Bank would be south of New Orleans, but that's just the way it is with the path of the river right here. Right about here is where that tower was, the WCKW 2,000-foot tower right about here. And let me go back one. Right about here is where the Entergy tower was. This is the Huey P. Long Bridge, and the Greater New Orleans Bridge, the Crescent City Connection, is right about here. And this is the Greater New Orleans, this is the G&O Bridge, the Crescent City Connection. This is the Huey P. Long Bridge. And right about here was where that tower was. It went right across the river right here. So you've got all these people out of power. You've got the suburbs to the north up here. You've got Baton Rouge up here. You've got city of New Orleans down here, and it's just a mess. So how can you help? First of all, research before you give to avoid being scammed. There are a lot of people out there scamming people out of their money. They will take your money, and it will not go to the people who are affected. So for God's sake, go to charities.org, go to charitynavigator.org, go to greatnonprofits.org, go to guidestar.org, charitywatch.org, and of course redcross.org and disaster.salvationarmy.usa, or rather disaster.salvationarmyusa.org. Those are all vetted. Those are all great ways to donate any money that you want. And of course, if you're down here in this area, donate your time and energy, because they say it'll be about 3 weeks before the power will be brought back up. They're actually doing some workarounds to get the power away. There are actually 8 of those distribution lines, or those transmission lines, that feeds the city of New Orleans and the greater New Orleans area, and that tower was just one of them. All 8 failed, so it is it's a pretty bad situation. Thankfully, we were only here in South Mississippi off the grid for about 24 hours, so it wasn't too bad for us. We got our power back about 8 p.m. last night, and everything is fine here. No damage that we can see around our house. Didn't even lose any trees, which is odd because we lost 42 trees in Hurricane Katrina, not a one this time. So we dodged a bullet here in South Mississippi, where we were about 90 miles away from landfall for Hurricane Ida. So could have been a lot worse. And now, since, we're all radio geeks, this is the tower site for that WCKW 1,999-foot tower in Vacherie, Louisiana. That's kind of what's left. Engineer friend of ours sent this to us. That's all that's left of 2,000 feet. And yeah, it's a bit of a mess. So
and nobody was hurt or anything. That's a big tower to fall.
No, there was no one out there.
Okay.
There was no one out there, thankfully, and there was no one hurt in the Entergy tower either, which is just just so thankful. But yeah, it was a mess, that's for sure. So anyway, keep everyone down here in South Louisiana, and especially along the coast, down around Port Fourchon and Grand Isle and Houma, Louisiana, and all those people up there. Baton Rouge got hit pretty hard as well, and as you can see from that graphic, it was a hurricane well up into central Louisiana, and I think George Thomas up in Jackson, Mississippi, got some bad weather as well. So yeah, it was a mess, and it continues to be a mess, even though now it's no longer tropical, but it's going to bring a lot of rain up to the northeast and into the mountainous areas of the Smoky Mountains as well. So keep everyone up there in your prayers. We certainly would appreciate that. And so now let's see if
we got some questions for you, Don, if you don't
Yes,
mind.
sir. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Have you heard of any ham radio help being involved so far?
I have not, because I have not really been on the air. I have not. I haven't had any power. There is no EC down here in Pearl River County, and I have not heard anything on any of the repeaters around because, well, everything there's no power. There's no power for a million people down here. So I haven't heard of anything, but I'm sure there are some people out there who are doing some things to help out. And of course, as we find out more, we'll tell you about it on the Amateur Radio Newsline. So just keep tuned to that.
Absolutely. And the other thing I was going to ask you is, how far away from New Orleans do you live? I should have asked you when you had the map up, but are you northeast?
I'm approximately 50 air miles northeast of New Orleans.
Okay.
It's if you look on a map, it's Picayune, Mississippi, and if you look on the eastern border between New Orleans and or rather between Mississippi and Louisiana, it's of course Louisiana is shaped like a boot. So you have the boot, and then you have like the eastern border has a curve to it. And we are right like in the crook of that curve. So
okay.
if you just look for Picayune, Mississippi on a map and go slightly north of that, we're about 10 miles about 10 miles north of Picayune. So we're like right in that crook, right between, say, Picayune, Mississippi and Sun, Louisiana. That's pretty much where we are.
And that's about all I have. Some of the comments are like, wow, dang. This is unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, it
really is
overwhelming.
Yeah. It really is. It's extremely overwhelming. Of course, gasoline is quite the commodity. There are hours-long waits for gasoline. Finding groceries, people in New Orleans are having to come here, drive 50 miles to find some gas and some groceries. So, but the good news is they say that there are workarounds around all those 8 transmission lines. The Entergy, the power company, is working on that. You have two Entergys, actually. You have Entergy New Orleans, and then you have Entergy Louisiana. Entergy Louisiana serves everything pretty much except for Greater New Orleans, and then Entergy New Orleans serves Greater New Orleans. So they're the same company, but they're not, and it's kind of weird. But anyway, they're saying that there are some workarounds, and that hopefully within the next 3 or 4 days they'll start getting power back to hospitals first, and then first responders, and then after that, they'll start working on getting the people back with power. And they're saying that within about 3 weeks, they're hoping to get power back to about 90% of the Greater New Orleans area. So that's what they're looking at right now.
Oh, that is really a woe. All right, Don, take it away with the rest of what you got this evening.
All right, let's go ahead and jump into Amateur Radio Newsline. Again, no Dr. T tonight. She's got some other things around, so just check her website, spaceweatherwoman.com, of course, and her Twitter feed at Tamitha Skov, and of course her YouTube channel, Tamitha Skov, to find out more about the solar weather that's coming up. But right now, let's get into the news of the week from Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 2,287, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, September 1st, 2021. Our top story this week involves suspected RF interference that appears to be affecting a medical device. But does this point to ham radio?
A ham radio operator in Florida is off the air following a challenge by a neighbor in his retirement community that his amateur radio station is causing life-threatening interference to the wireless communications in her insulin pump. According to a report by WFTV Channel 9 Orlando, an independent consultant hired by the residential community known as On Top of the World near Ocala, Florida, believes that RF from the ham station, quote, could have produced, end quote, interference with the pump's delivery of measured insulin doses. WFTV reported that the woman, Michelle Smith, is a type 1 diabetic who claims that David Burge, WB9UYK, had put her health at risk by operating his station. David is now off the air in compliance with the community board's order to him. It remains unclear, however, whether the consultant's findings definitively proved that RFI was a factor. Eric Kester, KA0YWN, an electrical design engineer in Minnesota who is not involved with the Florida dispute, told Newsline in an email that he has been familiar with RF emissions testing and RF immunity testing since 1995. He said that the more subtle kind of changes Michelle Smith reported seeing in her insulin pump are inconsistent with the larger scale reactions he has seen documented in devices compromised by RF interference. Meanwhile, the WFTV report noted that the Florida Community's Board of Directors has already modified its regulations on antennas in a way that would permit operations by licensed radio amateurs living there. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Ralph Squillaci, KK6ITB.
Meanwhile, in Spain, hams await the scheduled launch next month of 2 AMSAT EA Genesis satellites.
The satellites are called Genesis L and Genesis N, and their planned launch on September 2nd has been eagerly anticipated by Spain's National Amateur Radio Society, the URE. The launch is to take place at California's Vandenberg Air Force Base, where the 2 digital repeating satellites will take to the sky along with a number of other satellites. The Genesis satellites, built by students from the European University, will be using amplitude shift keying and CW. Additional details and a list of the satellites' working frequencies can be found on the URE website, which is listed in the script of this week's newscast at arnewsline.org. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm John Williams, VK4JJW.
20 years ago, on September 11th, the world changed with the attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon. Amateur radio in the New York City area pauses to remember, and you're invited to participate.
Many of the hams who will be on the air on September 11th calling QRZ from New York City were in a very different place 20 years ago. Some of them hurried to the World Trade Center in Manhattan as first responders to the terror strikes that day. They were answering a call then, and this year they are the ones calling to mark the painful anniversary. The first responders and their friends and supporters are hams in the Northeast Wireless Radio Club, NW2C, and the Great South Bay Amateur Radio Club, W2GSB. They will be on the air together from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, operating special event station W2T using CW, single sideband, and the digital modes. Hams may also contact them via satellite. In the words of their station, Whiskey 2 Tango, we will never forget. Mark it on your calendar.
Newsline anchor Paul Brown, WD9GCO. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Ralph Squillace, KK6ITB, John Williams, VK4JJW, Paul Brown, WD9GCO, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now, here's the solar update from Dr. Tim at the Scope.
Okay. Well, thanks to the Newsline folks for everything that they do for us. And again, no Dr. T, so you'll have to check her website. But we have some sad news. We just heard of one of the passing of our Newsline family, one that dates back actually to the very beginnings of Newsline. Robert Sudock, WB6FDF, who, if you're a long-term, I'm talking like way back to the beginnings, 10 years ago, viewer of Newsline, you'll recognize that name. Robert Sudock, WB6FDF. Passed away July 7th in Long Beach, California. He was 74. He'd been in poor health for some time. Bob was there when Bill, WA6ITF, and Jim Hendershot, WA6VQP, came up with the idea to drive to the top of a mountain and report on the state of the Westlink 220 repeater system in the Los Angeles area. That became the Westlink Report. You know it now as Amateur Radio Newsline. Bob, like Bill, hailed from Brooklyn, New York. And when a young Bill Pasternak, then WA2HVK, moved to Los Angeles, Bob was one of his first contacts. And their lifelong friendship began with that first contact. He had a long career in broadcast engineering, including stops at KZH Channel 31, KLON Radio in Long Beach, and KTTV Los Angeles, Channel 11 in Los Angeles. It was there where he worked alongside Bill Pasternak. He served on the board of the Southern California Frequency Coordinating Committee from 74 to 76. Bob edited and reported the Mount Wilson Repeater Association news, and he was an original member of Newsline. Bob Sudock subbed, actually, for Newsline's Graham Kemp, VK4BB, as anchor of the Wireless Institute of Australia's Q News, and Graham went on holiday. Bob was often heard on Newsline, and when Bob Heil began Ham Nation, he asked Newsline to be part of the show, and Robert Sudock was the original news presenter here on Ham Nation. And when he fell ill, I filled in for him, firmly expecting to keep his seat warm. And that was 10 years ago. Bob and I sat down via Skype a few years ago. We had a long conversation about the beginnings and little-known facts of Newsline for report number 2000. You can find that on our website, irnewsline.org, under the Extra tab. Scroll about halfway down, you'll find that audio. You know, I never met Bob Sudock in person, but we talked on the phone many times, and he was a gentle soul with a big heart. Deep resonant voice, and after Bill passed away, he was invaluable in helping us pick up the pieces and keep Newsline going. And actually, some 6 years now that Bill's been gone, we just now have the business side of Newsline going, the part that you don't hear in our reports. The front office side was in turmoil for 6 years, and we just in the last year or so have got that back and up and running. And we're able to take donations via our 501c3. So check out arnewsline.org to find out how you can support us. Robert was truly one of the good guys, and we're going to miss him. And so now let's take a look back 10 years ago to May of 2011. Here's one of Robert's first reports on Ham Nation for Amateur Radio Newsline.
Well, we want to get some of the news that's been happening. So let's see if Robert is ready to go and listen to a little bit of Newsline about amateur radio.
From Amateur Radio Newsline, report number 1787, these are the Ham Nation headlines for November 15, 2011. Emergency communications again topped this week's news, this time in Italy following flash flooding in the Liguria and Tuscany regions, which have accounted for the deaths of at least 10 people in those areas. The government has asked the Amateur Radio Voluntary Communications Group, RNRE, to provide additional communications in the affected areas. Frequencies in use are 3.643 and 3.760 megahertz on 80 meters, and 7.045 to 7.060 megahertz on 40 meters. Amateurs are asked to listen carefully before using these frequencies. More heavy rain is expected to strike the region, and additional casualties are expected with increased flooding. And as we reported last week, Amateur Radio continues to support emergency communications for the severe flooding in Thailand. Radio Amateur Society of Thailand's Secretary Paul Wakarapal, Hotel Sierra 4 Delta Delta Quebec, reports his team has helped to save almost 1,000 lives by coordinating rescue communications where medical aid was necessary. The team has been organizing emergency medical communications at the Public Health Ministry using the call sign Hotel Sierra 0 Alpha Charlie. Russia says that it's going to do all that it can to remove illegal taxicab two-way radio operations from the 10-meter ham band. In a letter to Uli Billmeyer, Delta Juliet 9 Kilo Romeo, Deputy Director Mykolai Valamov of Russia's Radio Frequency Service has promised to arrange permanent monitoring of the 10-meter band for illegal CB-like operations and to deal with them. And finally, we'd like to thank those of you who have responded to our request for female reporters and newsreaders. If you're interested, we'd be delighted to hear from you. Just drop an email to reporters@arnewsline.org. And for details on the stories that you've just heard, point your browsers to www.arnewsline.org. And Gordo, this one's for you. This week's microphone is the venerable RCA 77DX Velocity microphone. It comes to us courtesy of the Mark Sudock collection. Thank you, Mark.
Oh, wow.
And for this week, that's all the news from the Amateur Radio Newsline. I'm Robert Sudock, WB6FDF, saying 7-3, and now back to Ham Nation.
Oh, Robert. Wow.
That was great. Cool. Thank you, Robert. That was wonderful. I want your voice, huh?
You know, we all want Bob's voice, and we're going to miss him. So that's all for me. Good night.
Night, Don Don. It is time.
Hi, everybody. It's Bob Heil, and I want to talk about my favorite event tonight. That is Route 66 on the air. I've been working that event almost a full 18 years that it has been in operation. But before we get too far, let's visit a little bit about what really makes the road so popular, even that it's, and I think this year is the 91st anniversary. Man, it's something. But you want to go to this website, w6jbt.org. That's where you'll discover all of the things about logging and what stations are where. We'll go through that in just a minute. But first of all, the road, it starts in San Bernardino and it goes all the way up to Chicago and through many, many cities. And hopefully most of these cities will have ham radio operators in them. And guess what? They do. There's about 16 this year, I do believe. And the really popularity of this thing started with old Buzz and Todd with the TV show Route 66. And there were stories each week about what they would do up and down the road and seeing all of these crazy and wonderful sights. But through the stories and the songs and the TV shows, the highway came to symbolize the spirit of the freedom of the open road. And it inspires many to see America. And you want to look around for the stations that are out there, plus a couple of rovers. So we'll get to that and show you that in just a minute. What you're going to find, when you're in Texas, you're going to find this little menagerie, and what that is the Volkswagen Ranch, and they're all dug into the earth, and this has been there for some years. And they invite people to put your graffiti on them, and it all started with this one, the Cadillac Ranch in Amarillo, and all of those Cadillacs were buried nose in the ground, but they were at the same angle as the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. Think about that. Just think about that. It was done by Stanley Marsh. It was a great piece of art after he did that one, why he did the Volkswagens. But as you get on down the road, you're going to see sites like this. Gay Parita is outside of Springfield, Missouri, and it is absolutely one of the service stations, just the way it used to be. Look at that. Gas was 15 cents. And you see all kinds of people traveling up and down the main street. And we're talking about people from Europe, Japan, worldwide. They really, really love Route 66. And you'll see all types of different motels, some like this one, still working. This one's in Springfield, Missouri. And yes, that 55 Ford is usually sitting out front. They really boast here on their marquee that Elvis slept here in 1955, and we believe them. But there are all kinds of other motels, and it's just so much fun to drive up and down as much of the route that you can and see all of these great things. 1926 to 1941, you went that way. This is very exciting. At Lincoln, Illinois, near Springfield, Illinois, the hot air balloons travel up and down as much as they can before the wind takes them away on Route 66. Personally, I like things like this. Some of them are still working. I don't know that you could buy gasoline at 15 cents, but this is another one of the stations. But here is a really cool piece of art. This is in Springfield, Missouri, and it's hubcaps. And they did a stainless steel sticks, and they're all covered with hubcaps of all kinds. I love all the artwork you see up and down the road. You're going to have to take lots of film for your camera, lots of extra memory, because there's so much that you're going to do. One of the things that Sarah and I really, really liked, this is the first gas station ever in Texas. It's in McLean, and it's still there, just as it was. So these are all sites that you really can enjoy as you travel from California to Chicago. But what happens with the ham radio side of things? Well, you see stuff like this for that week. It really turns into a mini field day for many. And I like to see all of the different things that happen. Some guys, they take their trailers out because they're going to spend quite a bit of time there. Some guys operate in New Mexico out in the desert, and you can work these guys. And I always like to see their signs, Route 66 on the air. And people that drive by, they want to know, what are you guys doing? And that's always fun when people come upon you and ask what you're doing. Well, we know what we're doing. Yeah, we're having fun. But it turns into kind of a mini field day. Here's a couple of the guys in the Springfield, Missouri club, and they're just having fun. Jordan and it's just one of those things that it gives you a week to work your radios and work lots of people, because this thing is huge. There are a lot of people that'll be checking in, and Franklin's all going to be putting them into his computer, and Jordan's going to be talking. QSL cards are a big deal, and the clubs have various different ones each year, and you get to work these guys and collect the cards. And one of the things that will help you is to make sure you get all of the right frequencies, and you want to copy this down. And of course, this is on the website of w6jbt.org. But these are the frequencies that we hover around. Now, we move once in a while. We don't want to just plot in there and say, hey, move over. But if the frequencies are free, once the Route 66 station takes off, it's a big pile up. It's really great. There's all the different calls. And I love that picture. This will help you a lot. This could be used as a log sheet and make all of the different cities and the calls. And all of this is on the website, that's for sure. But you want to pay attention to some of the things that are on that website. It'll help you. And this is one of my favorite pictures of Judith, KD0TOT, outside of Springfield. There she is at night, working away, signing logs and so on. But you really need to spend some time and look through the log and get all the information that you can at w6jbt.org. And of course, you can't do any of this unless you have food. But seriously, here's what you need right here. All you need is this, w6jbt.org. And this page will come up and it'll have all the different things that you need to know. And I do hope that I can catch you. I'll be on. I love working Route 66, and I'm sure a lot of you are too. So have fun. Be kind to your neighbors when you're on the air. And just work a lot of ham radio for a good week. So thanks a lot for having me aboard, and I'm going to go make sure all my transmitters are where they should be and having fun. 7-3, everybody. We'll see you on the air.
Oh, Bob, that was terrific. Well, let's continue on and see what's happening to Route 66 and the ham radio operators out here in Southern California, as well as 22 other spots along the way. Well, what you're looking at is an aerial photo showing the location of the Wigwam hotels right on Route 66. Now, this is the 22nd year that ham radio operators have been operating along the path of the Mother Road. Now, we begin on Friday evening, a week from this Friday, Friday evening the 10th at 0001 hours Universal Time, which is actually the September 11th. But Friday, the September 10th evening is when we go on, and we go all the way until Sunday evening, September 19th. And we thank the original Northern Arizona DX Association for allowing the hams to come together and have a fun way of reliving the ride. And now the Citrus Belt, that Citrus Belt Amateur Radio Club that Bob was talking about in San Bernardino, California, they've taken it over for a few years, and it's grown and grown as the best amateur radio event this year and years to come. And of course, Route 66 starts in Chicago, ends up in Santa Monica, but out here we might say it starts in Santa Monica and ends up in Chicago if you're going the other way. 1-by-1 call signs will be used, with W6A in Santa Monica ending all the way across, halfway across the country, to W6U in Wilmington, Illinois. And this year we add Arizona, Kingman, Arizona, W6V as in Victor. 20 fixed stations will be on the air for the Route 66 on the air event. There'll be 2 rover vehicles and likely a lot of other ham radio operators along the route that will come up sporadically on who knows what frequencies, but probably ending with 266 on 40 meters as well as 20 meters, and it goes 80 meters through 6 meters, CW, single sideband, and even digital. Now, W6 Charlie, right here at the wigwams that you see there, will be the special event and historical motel on the original Route 66. And their call sign, W6 Charlie, will be on the air Monday, September 13th, and Thursday, September 16th, beginning at California time, 10 a.m. until about 2 p.m. So I hope you get one of their QSL cards, because as you can see here, they really have a nice station. And this one shows the station, well, a little bit on edge, but always on edge for making a good signal using an end-fed wire antenna. Temporarily today, they were on the air, and they've talked all the way to W9RG, Rich in Illinois, with a strong signal. But more than likely, they're going to add some grounding to it as they operate right there inside a wigwam, of all things. And they'll be on the air with a strong signal those 2 days. Now, on Monday, September 13 and September 16 is when W6C begins to go on the air. And this was their testing today. It's an aerial photo showing their test location. And all of the information about who's going to be where, and believe me, there'll be 8 times as many new hams coming on the air from Route 66 at www.whiskey6JulietBravoTango.org. And that will get you all of the information from the Citrus Belt Amateur Radio Club. Well, as the late Robert Sudock WB6FDF, as we make a little change here to something a little bit more emergency-wise. He was very involved in covering emergency communications, and Robert was pointing out that ham radio stays on the air when everything goes down. And of course, Hurricane Ida, everything came down. Most important right now, today, are the channels on the air on 60 meters. 60 meters, channel 1, which is 5330.5 for USB voice, and channel 2, which is 5346.5 on 60 meters with a 1.5 kc offset for center of digital waveform. So we hope you have an opportunity to tune in to the interoperability activity between FEMA and all of the emergency U.S. government stations and amateur stations on our shared channels 1 and 2. And they're on the air right now because those of you up in New York area, you're going to get hammered tonight. Well, you say, well, is there ham radio involved in it? And I'd like to say, yep, ham radio is deeply involved in it. In fact, on a recent hurricane years ago, ham radio played an important part, but we didn't find out until about a week or so later. But be advised that the United States Coast Guard can be tuned in, and if you're looking to hear the real activities tonight as that Hurricane Ida goes through the eastern seaboard, New York, and all of the areas north, you're going to find a ton of activity. And the United States Coast Guard operates a Rescue 21 system that embraces both VHF, very close to our 2-meter band, as well as high frequency. And all of their stations are interconnected via the internet. All of the stations overlap each other for redundancy, and it's a gazillion-dollar system that stayed up and is continuing to operate during this widespread emergency. Working with the United States Coast Guard are the United States Coast Guard auxiliary stations. And the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary started many years ago, back in 1939, as Coast Guard Rescue Reserve. Now, 1941, Congress called them the U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary. We have 26,000 volunteers, and I'm happy to be one of them. But to be a volunteer, you don't just sign up. You have to take a ton of training, and you have to be ready for deployment at who knows what time. Now, for those of you with a VHF, UHF handheld or a mobile, more than likely it has wideband receive. You would tune in the U.S. Coast Guard's distress channel this evening for those of you up in the East Coast, the Northeast, and your channel is 16. But of course, you don't have a ham channel on your ham radio that says 16 Coast Guard, but here's the frequency, 156.8. 156.8 is the distress channel and the calling channel. And for those of you with a life and death emergency, something that is going to wipe someone out within the next 10 minutes, the Coast Guard is monitoring not only at sea with their stations up and down both the Pacific Coast, Gulf, and Atlantic, also all the way down the Mississippi. They are there to take a distress call if you have a marine radio with the transmit capability. And marine radios, unlike ham radios, are pretty special these days because they're submersible down to 6 feet. Some ham radio handhelds are, but they have extra gaskets on the batteries to make sure that no moisture gets in there and kills the battery, yet the insides live. Marine transceivers, again, come up by the Marine ITU, International Telecommunications Unit numbers, channel 16, 156.800 FM is what you'd tune in and listen tonight, as well as those of you in New Orleans area. If you're on some way of getting us, you'd be tuning in to the Coast Guard as well. If you had an emergency, life and death, on a handheld or a 25-watt radio and you got water up to your navel, the Coast Guard would say if it's not life-threatening in the next 10 minutes, go to our channel 22, and that is 157.1, 157.1. So 156.8, 157.1, and you are now tuned in to the Coast Guard. All of the marine channels, which they're 55, are just like the ham channels, although they're spaced slightly differently, and they are channelized. Channel 14 is a popular one in an emergency for port operations. But do know that the U.S. Coast Guard, through their interconnection, transmissions and reception, have capabilities all over the United States from both their small craft vessels as well as from their larger 87-footers with both channel 16 VHF coverage as well as high frequency coverage, as well as their helicopters. And the thing about helicopters is, in New Orleans, when they're making their rescues, many times they get reports of folks that are stranded on a rooftop. Well, take a listen to this.
Your storm surge is greater than 6 feet and hard to measure. QSL? QSL.
All right, this is a ham band transmission, but listen to this.
The Coast Guard was sending somebody in there as soon as they could expedite that. Roger?
And finally, the Coast Guard called back.
I want to know that the 21 people at Pear Street has been received by the Coast Guard.
So the problem is the Coast Guard doesn't have street maps necessarily right there at their disposal. They may have them on their electronic charting, but it would be helpful for latitude and longitude. And that's where you need to have a transceiver with a built-in GPS. And you need to take a look and see whether it's degrees, minutes, and did you say seconds? Nope. The Coast Guard is degrees, minutes, and fractions of a minute. So if you've got a handheld with a built-in GPS or a computer that's running a GPS tied in, make sure that it's calibrated in degrees, minutes, and fractions of a minute. The antennas for VHF are almost the same as your 2-meter antenna. So if you've got a handheld, that will tune in to 156.8, 157.1. turn it on, because you could hear Coast Guard calls quite nicely on the handheld tied into a 2-meter 440 antenna. And if you see this, all of the Coast Guard sectors have smaller stations, but those sectors are tied into some of the command stations, and there's coverage all over the United States. But the best coverage right now going on is in New Orleans, where the U.S. Coast Guard is doing effective communications. The auxiliary works very closely with the Coast Guard. We do training. Here's Pastor Jason Gant, W6AUX, there we go, and Old Gordo, and we're passing digital traffic. So yes, the auxiliary embraces digital traffic. We use Olivia, and we use frequencies that are NTIA approved. We do demonstrations to show that in an emergency, even your kids can call out and properly make a distress call to the Coast Guard if you're disabled. And handheld radios, that's a Marine VHF handheld. You'll notice that the handheld radio is on shore. It is no longer illegal to operate from shore with a handheld if you direct your call to an associated ship station. And in an emergency, that associated ship station and a handheld radio on 156.8 just very well may save the day if you're trapped somewhere and you need help. But again, as Jeff is showing here, both a ham as well as a public safety pilot, we need to know latitude and longitude in degrees, minutes, and fractions of a minute, not in seconds these days. And the Coast Guard Auxiliary also works closely, and they're doing this now with emergency position indicating beacons. Coast Guard Auxiliary will train their members how to use directional antennas. And as we get real close to an activated EPIRB, we use a small antenna like this to literally sniff out where that signal is coming from. And the Coast Guard Auxiliary has battery-operated radios, both VHF and high frequency. Now, for those of you not near New Orleans or the Gulf area or the East Coast, where they're going to get hammered tonight in New York City north, and they've already got tornadoes, you'll hear activity probably on 4, 6, and 8 megahertz Coast Guard channels. These are frequencies that the Coast Guard does monitor, and they are frequencies that you can tune in with a high-frequency radio. Never, ever, ever try and contact the Coast Guard for either a radio check or that you're monitoring for distress traffic. They are so tied up. But if you want to hear activity tonight, go to 4125, 6215, or 8291. Your radio will try and go to lower sideband, have a discussion with your radio and say, no, this is an NTIS. I need you in upper sideband. The old distress channel down on 2.182 is still international distress, but no longer monitored by the United States Coast Guard locally. They do all of their local traffic on channel 16. That frequency again, 156.8. 4125 that you just saw there is a very popular channel for distress calls as well as calling. And when the Coast Guard comes up, they have major stations at the Chesapeake called the Chesapeake Command. And then they also have big antennas like this in Boston, Miami, New Orleans, Point Reyes, California, Honolulu, Kodiak, Alaska, and Guam. But there's no person beneath those antennas. There's not a blockhouse. They are all tied in via the internet to the Chesapeake Command Center in Virginia. So the Coast Guard has you covered. They have their sectors covered. They have individual Coast Guard stations covered. And most important, as Robert Sudock was saying, the Coast Guard has you covered in an emergency. So we're going to hear more about all that the ham radio operators have done with ARES, Salvation Army, and many of the other amateur radio services. But right now, they're more than likely working simplex at rescue coordination spots where folks are dropped off. And you're going to hear some real stories how ham radio as it always does, come to the rescue with chargeable batteries, batteries tied into cell phone chargers, and they're going to take care of those folks in evacuation centers. So thank you all for your service, especially with the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary. And I'll take your questions via email. My call sign, WB6NOA at ARRL.net. And let's go to Icom America. And I've got an Icom Marine radio right up here. It's tuned in to some of the distress channels, and I'm still hearing activity out of the Gulf. And I'm beginning to hear longer range activity coming in from their major station in Chesapeake. So Icom America, let's see what you've got for ham radio operators.
Icom has the base station of your dreams with the IC7851, IC7610, IC9700, and IC7300 SDR transceivers. Icom's amateur radios are top of the line and are the first choice for contesters across the globe. Robust base stations like these cut through pileups, letting you work the bands and record those contacts. Keep your competitive edge with Icom. Heard it, worked it, logged it. The IC7851 gives you a new window into the RF world and is HF excellence unparalleled. With faster processors, high input gain, high display resolution, and a cleaner signal, it's truly the pinnacle of HF perfection. Dual receivers, digital IF filters, memory keyer, digital voice recorder, high-resolution Spectrum waterfall display, enhanced PC connectivity, and SD memory card slot. The Icom IC7610 is the SDR every ham wants. This high-performance SDR can pick out the faintest of signals even in the presence of stronger adjacent signals. The IC7610 is a direct sampling software-defined radio that will change the world's definition of an SDR transceiver. RF direct sampling system, 110 dB RMDR, independent dual receivers, and dual digicell. Create your own band opening with the IC9700. This transceiver brings direct sampling to the UHF-VHF weak signal world. This all-mode transceiver is loaded with innovative features that are sure to keep you busy: faster processors, higher input gain, higher display resolution, and a cleaner signal. 4.3-inch color touchscreen display, real-time high-speed spectrum scope and waterfall display, smooth satellite operation with 99 satellite channels, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. The Icom IC7300 changed the way entry-level HF is designed. This high-performance, innovative HF transceiver with a compact design will far exceed your expectations. RF direct sampling, 15 discrete bandpass filters, large 4.3-inch color touchscreen, real-time spectrum scope, and SD memory card slot. Visit icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on all the great Icom radios.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for continuing to watch us through the rest of the episode here. And want to remind everybody, thanks again, Icom, for supporting Ham Nation, and make sure that you go to the link in the description and get in on their giveaway. As I always mention, twice a month they give away swag. They pick 3 winners twice a month, so 6 total, and then they have a grand prize giveaway, which this month is an Icom 2730A. That radio is literally right in front of me. It's the one that I do most of my simplex work with when I'm just on 562 or 146.520. That's it. Anyway, make sure you take the link and get in on the giveaway. And the winners for this week are William Brown, KG4AQH, Stephen Moore, VE1BCL, and Steve Harris, KN6ERU. So thanks again, Icom. Real quick, Amanda, did we have any questions for Gordo during his short shots? Because there was a lot of stuff that he covered, and yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I did have a few questions. This was a very broad question, and I don't know what part of your segment they were talking about, but they said, does anyone know what the HF frequency they use is? And I'm guessing Coast Guard, but you had mentioned 60 meters, Gordo, in channels 1 and 2. Was that the correct answer to that question?
If they're talking about the Route 66, they're maybe talking about the quick slide that Bob showed.
I think it was during your Coast Guard.
Oh, okay. The main channel to monitor the U.S. Coast Guard is 8291, as well as 12351. 8291, and let me just look real carefully. 12 megahertz. But 8291 would probably be the best one tonight, just judging by my ALE capabilities here. Yep, that's going to be the one. 4125 kilohertz. Again, Amanda, they're both upper sideband.
Okay, got that. Yeah, I already saw like weather reports, and the Weather Channel was pointing out go to higher ground already in Brooklyn, if you can believe that. All right. Yeah. This one was for me, actually. First, I didn't know that it was illegal to talk to a ship from land on an HT on marine radio. I didn't know that. Didn't know that you could still do it. So does that mean that if you still can't use a mobile radio to talk to ships? Explain a little bit.
The marine radio rules now permit a radio operator with either, or mainly a handheld radio, such Icom makes about 6 different varieties of waterproof marine radios. They are permitted to talk to ship stations that they call associated with that operator. In other words, stations that they know. They can't just ratchet jaw like on 2 meters, but they make contact on channel 16 and then go to a working channel on Marine VHF. And if they have friends or family out there on the water, or they want to talk back to their main boat and they're at a local West Marine shopping for parts, they can now do so from shore to ship. So it's a new rule, about a year and a half old, that permits low power handheld use for shore use to talk to ships. But most important, Amanda, that handheld can also hail the Coast Guard on a life and death emergency on channel 16.
Very good. That's really interesting, and I think this matters more to coastal people than it does us inland people, but it's still very interesting to know. One other thing, this was a question again back to Route 66. They wanted to verify the 9/11 is actually UTC time, so this actually starts on September 10th. Is that correct?
For those of us out here in Southern Cal, that is correct.
Okay.
Yes. That Friday evening, and the frequency is 12 dot. Let me. I can't find it right now, but 8291.
I might have it. Give me 1 second. Is this is that the one?
Let's see. No, I was speaking of the frequency for the Coast Guard.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But for those that may have asked about Route 66, go to any band and go to 266 or ending with 66, and you'll probably hear hams.
Yeah, or look at your spotting network. Come on.
There you go.
See, that's where I find them, is looking at the spotting. This is just commentary here. After reading a comment, in past hurricanes, past flooding here in Colorado, a lot of things. Yes, we all wish that all hams were trained and exercised with their ARES groups. That way they would absolutely know how to react to a call for help or how to report something to our served agencies. I just want to say most of us actually do pretty good even when we are untrained. I've heard transmissions from Hurricane Michael where this guy had nothing to do with ARES but took a lot of traffic just from his shack because he still had power and did an amazing job. He just whipped into shape just like that. I've also seen people under stress that have been trained their whole lives not do a very good job. But I just want to say, if you have the setup and can help, that's what you should be doing. All right, off my rant. We have rants. Go ahead,
one
Gordon.
more. 12.290. I had to go to my Icom and look at the frequency. 12.290 is the longer range channel, but 8291 tonight, and you'll be hearing all that's going on with New York. And believe me, the Coast Guard gives out some very important traffic.
Wow, that's interesting. You might have to try to tune in. We have Randy with us tonight. It's been a bit. I think it's been since the 500th. Randy, how you been? What you been up to?
Oh, I've been doing a lot of things. I just want to talk about the Route 66 as well. I've worked at a couple of times, and what happens is that you start off slowly. You're tuning around and you hear one or two on there, and you go get the log sheet and you start filling it out, and next thing you know, you get 4 or 5, and then you start watching the spotting networks, and you can find them on there. And when you get about half to 3/4, now it's a serious thing, because looking at all the stations, you're looking at the propagation. You wish they'd get off 20 and get on 40 so you could work them. You go into your logging program. If you can put in a watch list of stations that you haven't worked yet, you put all those in there so the computer goes beep, and you run over and you tune them in, and you find out that the propagation isn't there. I remember years ago when I think I was getting my last one when I was living in Northern California. I needed one of the ones down in Southern California, and it seems like they would always be on 20 meters. They wouldn't switch over. And digital back then was PSK 31. So to get them, I had to run the kilowatt on PSK 31. But I got the certificate, and just a quick contact and get off and let everybody recover. So on the Ham Nation 500th anniversary, we had all the hosts and the special event stations on. I focused on FT8 over the 2-week time. I think I worked 568 stations. Of course, I have no idea how many of those are the Ham Nation viewers, because it's just a grid square and a signal report, and 73 and CQ. So you just keep on working them. I got lots of, of course, being on the West Coast, lots of Japanese, New Zealand, Australia, China, Indonesia. So I worked a lot of stations, and over the last couple of weeks, I've started getting some QSL cards. I don't know if they're from the Ham Nation viewers, because a lot of them mentioned my videos, but I thought we'd go through some of these and show you some of the QSL cards here that have appeared in the mailbox. So Josh, why don't you bring up the first one? This is from Ron, and he says, thanks for your the QSO, love your YouTube videos, keep them coming. So thanks, Ron. And we go on to the next one here with the truck. This is from Bill, and he says, hi, Randy. I really enjoy your videos. Keep them coming. And Bill, God bless. And see, that was... and
he's got his diver's flag on his hat. Looks like he's a diver, too.
Yeah, so that was on 20 meters. Then the next one is a Canadian station, VA3KTT. And I really like this card. It's kind of the, classic when you look in old QSL cards before everybody had 4-color printing and everything. They had a lot of graphics, so you can
that is
see what
definitely vintage.
Yeah.
That is offset printing vintage. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the printing expert talking there to us. Okay, next card, N0JDE. John, he says, love your YouTube channel, thanks. And that's another 20-meter FT8. The next one is, when I got this in the envelope, I recognized this right away. Amateur radio back in, I'm not sure what year this was, but it was a long time ago if it was a 5-cent stamp. And this is from Thomas, and says, thanks for the QSO. Your YouTube videos are awesome. Long-time subscriber. So thanks, Tom. Okay, the next one is K7CMI, and for his name here, and that's Marty. In fact, his card went out in the mail today, and it says, thanks for all the videos. This is another 20-meter FT8. Okay, the next card is from Jim, WV0Q, and looks like he has something to do with satellites here. Thanks for your videos. You've taught me tons. So that's where people learn things. In fact, this was a 6-meter FT8. So a lot of people are looking for my CN72 grid. Okay, the next card, another one of these vintage looking. It's kind of neat here, W0SAB. And this is from Seth. Big fan of your videos. Stay safe. This is a 40-meter FT8. So thanks for him. This next card, it's a little hard to read. Orange on orange. Anyway, this is from Mike, KF0MJB. And he says, 500th Ham Nation, congrats. So that's definitely from one of our viewers here tonight. And the last card is from AC0TG, Ken, and it says, your videos got me on PSK way back when. nobody's on PSK anymore. Finally have you in my log. So thanks, Ken, for sending that along. So that's just what's come out of the mailbox, as well as dozens of cards for working 6-meter FT8 this summer. So that was a lot of fun. So I think that's all here from the Oregon coast. Now turn it back to Josh, talking about Huntsville.
I think so.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Good.
How's it going, everybody? I'm down in the corner. All right, so you know Mark, N4BCD, right? Chairperson for Huntsville Hamfest, or the club, I believe, out there. Yeah, well, he's the chairperson for the event. And so we went out there. A lot of YouTubers went out there. I was there for only a couple of days, so I got to see everybody at the show. But there was a lot of stuff going on. Everybody went to the Aerospace Museum, got to hang out at Monsanto campsite, which we'll see a picture of that as we go on. But just a big shout out to Mark and the good work that everybody did, all the volunteers. It was absolutely amazing. I can honestly say I see how they say it's the friendliest Hamfest, because it really is. Yeah, it really is. So here's a shot looking on the far right side is that Swap My Rigs booth that I did an interview with. This is looking at the flea market. The flea market is really a shining gem of this Hamfest for sure. If you are a vintage operator, if you like boat anchors, if you like military radios, this is the spot. This is some of the cleanest. I mean, you can see them on the tables. I know this is a pretty far off shot, but go look at my videos that I posted. Some of the cleanest vintage radios I've ever seen. Just
absolutely
pristine. It was great. There's the shot of the youth lounge, so pointed in the direction of the Flex Radio Youth Lounge. Connor was out there, and he was talking about remote ham radio and some of the stuff that's out there. The youth lounge was great this year because they had things like the Snap Circuits kit and lots of fun STEM projects. So it's not just a thing like, pat your kid on the head and say, okay, Daddy's got to go find some good deals. This is actually a really interesting kind of science-y thing that kids were involved in doing, and it was a lot of fun. So I think everybody that went there, and I saw a couple of adults actually sneak in there to try to work with those Snap Circuits, which if you have kids and you're interested, Snap Circuits is a wonderful gift. Think about it for Christmas or something like that for the STEM-minded kids or young adults in your life. Here's another shot in the opposite direction now, and yeah, I think so. I think I got that right. No, that's all the way towards the youth lounge, facing towards the vintage hall. Lots of people out there getting deals, and it was a little bit less vendors than originally were there. But to be honest, that left space for everybody to kind of be spaced out, walk around, however safely they wanted to do it. And here's a shot of some of those vintage radios. Above me, I questioned, what is this thing? It was a seat with a little box on the top, and it was on my live stream. I didn't know what it was, and everybody immediately told me that was a hand crank generator for some of the World War II kit, for some of the World War II rigs. So I appreciate everybody who corrected me and educated me on what that was. Thank you very much. All right, so the night before the show kicked off, some of us met at the Monsanto campsite where they were doing POTA activations, and I believe that actually qualified for a SOTA activation as well. And one of the antennas that was out there, right there, is the SOTA. Now I've got my Buddy Pole. Sorry about that. Buddy Stick Pro. So that's the new Buddy Stick Pro that's coming out. Really, really cool to get to play with that, so that we'll probably hear more than that in the future. Here's a shot of the Icom booth. Really interesting. This whole booth boxes up and is in like a large shipping crate, and you can just open it up, plug it in, and you're off and running. So that's a pretty cool setup that Ray and Will had, and so I thank them for showing everybody that. All right, so N3ZN, their keys were absolutely beautiful. This was a key he put together for the Hamfest, and I believe he pretty much sold out of all the keys that he had available. Keys are a highly personal thing. It's really hard to kind of tell someone, oh, it feels really good. Well, what does that mean? Until you go hands-on, it's really hard to tell. But those are some of the best-feeling keys I've ever got to play with, so thanks for being out there. And Swap My Rig was the outstanding surprise of the show for me. For those of you who haven't seen my video on it, where I'm just talking with the creator's daughter, what the idea behind this is running one VGA cable, just one cable, and you leave that cable whether it's your car or maybe it's in your home, like you have a 7100, for instance, and you want to get that 7100 as close to the antenna or, that's feasibly possible. You use this Swap My Rig system to do it. The VGA cable handles the long line run up to 100 feet, and then it connects to the head unit. Fantastic idea. I thought that was just an absolute slam dunk. And the cool thing about it is if you decide you want to swap your rig out for something else, you just repin it for the pinning of that radio. So one line, those two boxes, you change it to match the radios, and you're done. So pretty surprising. The other thing was the Expert Electronics SDR. That is an SDR that's running a Windows 10 computer inside. I've never seen anything like that, so it deserves a shout out just for that. And we did meet up after hours to hang out on Saturday. You can see Bioenno batteries on the table, and there's that buddy pole sitting on the table. So it's obviously a ham radio meetup because we've got antennas and batteries on the table instead of food. That makes sense. And there's another shot of some of the folks that came out. There's Jason, Ham Radio 2.0, at the Hops and Guac at Campus 805, which if you live in that area is a middle school, a whole middle school that they repurposed into small little restaurants and microbrews. They even had an axe throwing room you could go to learn how to throw axes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. The last day, though, we did have a lot left to do, but the last day, the YouTube group got together and we did a talk. This was kind of as people were milling in, so I took a couple of pictures from the shot there. And yeah, the big thanks for Mark and everybody at Huntsville in allowing us to do that talk. It was a lot of fun. Here's the Gigaparts booth, probably the biggest in the whole show. This is the facing towards the entrance, and that was a lot of fun to meet people. I was sitting over on that right-hand side of the image for an hour meeting people. That was very cool. And, of course, the drawings. Boy, was there a lot of giveaways they had. And they had the largest spinner of tickets I've ever seen, which was a lot of fun. It was huge. You could get inside of it, probably with a couple other people. It was that big. So, yeah, those were my some of the images that were shared to us and some of my own images. So thanks for everybody letting me talk about it. I know it's a good time. It was a lot of fun. I know that there was a little bit less people than came, and some of the things Don told me to do weren't really available because of the restaurants being closed for renovations, or hours were different. Like they had a very short amount of time that the hotel bar was open, so we didn't get to spend much time there. But that was on the list of things to do after hours, so we had to find other things to do. But that was okay. We made it work, but it was a lot of fun.
And Josh, you know that John and Michael with the Orlando Ham Radio Fest, they come together and they work together, and that's the neat part about ham radio. Different ham fests, spaced great distances apart, come together, and John and Michael got some great ideas, gave them great ideas. So what a success, and thanks to Don Arnold, W6GPS, for being there as well. Josh?
Indeed, yeah, and I'll link it in the description, but I did kind of my thoughts video. It had a lot of my B-rolls and clips, and we actually talked to Michael and a couple of the other folks where we really didn't spend like enough time to have a whole, big video out of it, so I kind of put them all together and kind of walked through my whole travel time. So it was a lot of fun. Michael was great to talk to. As always, we see him at Hamvention, or he's obviously running Hamcation, but we see him all at the different ham fests, so it's very cool. But yeah, so I think that's it. Amanda, why don't you tell us about what's going on next?
Well, a lot of chatter in the chat room, but the first thing we need to address is you worked us all during the 500th. Now, what do I do to get my certificate? I'm waiting. I want it now.
Yes.
I understand. I have something terrible to admit. I was camping during part of the 500th, so I was camper portable making contacts, and we have a laptop, a very, very old laptop that's dedicated just to the camper, and that's where my logs have stayed. So I may be delaying this, but I promise I'm going to get those logs and get them submitted to Lou in O2C, who has been awesome at gathering all of these logs, and he has the link ready to hit send. And this is the coolest part, is like most of you don't have to do anything. You're
Yes.
just going to receive an email because it generates from your QRZ page and it says, I know that I worked you. I'm going to grab your email address and I'm going to send you a little notification saying that I am ready for you to download this awesome certificate. So that being said, it's coming next week.
Good.
Cool.
Yes. Isn't that awesome? And
Cool. I worked Josh one night on there. Yeah.
did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I worked Dawn. I don't think I worked anybody else. I worked the W7H and W4H. That's it. That was it. So those are going to be available next week, and you can. Us as hosts, if we take it upon us on our responsibilities to put the link also on our QRZ pages, we might do that. I'll obviously put it out on the Facebook page. Josh will put it on Discord, all of those things. So don't worry about it. You're going to find it real soon. And it's really pretty. So I hope you all download it and print it. Go ahead, Josh.
You broke the news on your laptop being in the camper in the best way possible. I thought you were going to say you lost your logs. So I think everybody was like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You didn't lose the logs. So, okay, no problem. No problem. She'll get it. It's fine. I was worried that that's what you're going to tell us. You started saying old laptop. I'm like, oh, no, here we go.
Oh, no.
I would have been absolutely mortified if I had done that. And I don't think... Oh gosh, I need to find wood or something. Knock on wood. This is a wood desk. I have never lost logs. I hope that remains true for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Even paper logs, I have found them at some point in time in my life. But I don't know about the rest of you. Have any of you guys lost logs?
I have a lot of computers, and so my problem is I try to always co-locate all my logs into the main shack computer that gets backed up on the network attached storage and all that fun stuff. But it's the getting it to the main computer that's the problem. So there'll be a Raspberry Pi off somewhere in the garage that I haven't pulled the logs off of, and I'm like, oh man, I got to get to that.
I'm telling you, I can look right around here, and I could probably find an envelope that has a log written on it. That's not a joke. That is my life. But I always.
Oh, I've lost my was it TQSL file about 5 years ago. My computer died. I just saw somebody ask about when's Randy going to get on Logbook of the World. Well, I'm slowly working at it. I got that reset up a little bit. I've been in correspondence with the experts at the league. So, and also I've changed logging programs. The one I've been using for years has become non-supported, TRX Manager. So I've switched over to AC, or I was an amateur contact log from Scott N3 FPGJ, I believe it is, and he supported me for years, supplying the logging for my field day videos and stuff, and I had the key for all of them. And now that I'm using that full time, I actually sent him some money. So I'm working on it. It's going to take time. I think when I did log in, I'm about 5,000 QSOs behind from uploading. So.
Oh wow! I only have 10,000.
There you go. That's how you guarantee.
1960. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah. I thought I was going to make a liar out of myself of like not being able to find a piece of paper that had a log written on it, but not true. I found one underneath this 7610. This is my this is my amplifier tuning sheet to tell me the numbers for the load, the plate in the grid, basically, right?
Yeah.
So I have a cheat sheet here for what band, and it depends on.
Amanda, what's that right-hand column that says smoke?
Yeah,
there's that.
The tubes are always going out on it, right?
Randy, they are again, bro.
Mine are too, Amanda. I think I've got We've got the same amp.
HFnet, and all of a sudden they're like, "Whoa, holy RF! Just stop talking. Just shut up. Just stop." And they're on chat, and they're like, "Stop talking." And I'm like, "I don't even know." So one of my friends calls me on the phone, and he's like, I don't know what's going on, but you have some serious problems in your signal. It turns out, darn amplifier, these flipping tubes, and you can't find the good ones anymore. And if you can, you can't afford them, right? So,
right. You do put a lot of hours on that amp, though. You do a lot of time. Yeah. You need, you get a generator, you get a gas generator, and you put an hour meter on it to track your hours. You need one of those for your amplifier so you can track what hours you're getting out of those tubes.
I'm not sure I want to do that. Either the manufacturer should sponsor me. Are you hearing me, manufacturers? Because I talk a lot, hours and hours and hours. But I'm going to be like all barefoot this weekend because Colorado QSO party. I want to remind everyone that's Saturday, 7 a.m. Mountain Time until Saturday, maybe 7 p.m.
What frequency?
Oh, well, anywhere we can find open on 40, mostly in 20. 7 a.m. I'll be on 40 meters, working it close, getting some other Colorado counties, that kind of thing. But we'll have an antenna up in the tree while we're camping, a G5 RV, nothing special. So, bare minimum to make it work. Not a buddy stick or anything cool like that, but we have to work at it.
The QSL party is worth about 10 dB, so people will work you.
All right, so listen for me, though, because I'll be WE0FUN. We're running as our repeater club call sign just to have some fun with it. So, okay, I haven't been paying attention to chat at the end here while I've been talking, but I didn't see anything. Anyone else? Josh, you want to do around the table, wrap it up here?
I'll mention there was a couple of questions, but some of them are probably better suited to Discord. And the link for our Discord is in the description, and that's a 24/7 chat and voice program that we use to stay in touch and answer ham radio questions. Also, I'll be hopping over to the Discord to do a bit of a live after chat with you, and it's a voice chat or text chat, and I'll try and answer your questions. We got questions on, which radio should you get to start out? I'm a Mac user. What software should I use? Happy to answer those, but that's probably something we should better just do a little one-on-one chat or whatever on the after chat.
And that's commentary completely. Like it's all, everyone has their opinion on it.
Oh, of course.
Everything's commentary, but
yeah, let's go around.
Jeff is out at the camp spot, you guys, and he has like limited service, and he seriously just sent me a text message that says amp blower, like mean face.
Very good.
Whatever, Jeff.
Oh, Amanda, do you want to mention the nets right now?
I do want to mention the nets.
And then we'll go
around.
If
you have an amp, or if you don't, find our wonderful net controls on 14 to 80, around there, and 7192. That's Steve and Kevin. They do an awesome job. Then we have D-Star on reflector 14 Charlie. My gosh, I can't believe that just slipped my mind. And DMR 31012. So they're ready and willing to take your check-ins. So I'm going to go pack for camping.
Okay. You got big camping plans. Gordo, what are you doing this weekend? Anything fun?
I'm going to be working Amanda on HF.
There you go.
All right.
How about you, Randy? Getting through some more of those QSL cards?
Yeah, oh yeah, I got a envelope from the bureau, and it's like 85% of the cards are JA, so I have a lot of please QSL to answer.
Yep.
Randy, I cannot believe you didn't show off your QSL card.
You want to see one of mine?
Yeah.
He has a pretty spiffy card, you guys. I don't know who made this or designed it.
Oh, look at that.
But,
wow.
I mean,
and that's his view. That's his shot.
That's the view out the ham shack window.
Oh, man.
And that's Gold Beach and the Rogue River down there.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we know what Amanda's doing, but what else? Anything else, Amanda?
Nope, that's it. Paying attention to weather and wishing all of my friends well across the country. And I didn't even know how to pronounce Homa. Don would just slap me silly right now. But I do have a good ham friend that's down there. House on stilts, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Lost his roof, lost everything.
Yeah.
Everyone else that I don't know, and you're going through this, my condolences. And anything the rest of the ham world can do, you let us know, and us, we'll do anything we can. So there you go. Stay safe out there.
Indeed. Everybody stay safe. And we're actually kind of curious, too. If you email me, hashnasi@gmail.com, let me know about some of the stories that you're going through, how ham radio played a part or didn't. I just hope everybody's okay, and we'd like to retell some of those stories, or, we'll figure something out, if not on Ham Nation, maybe on just one of my other videos that we can do something with that. Anyway, I think that that's enough said. We're going to let you enjoy the rest of your week, so until we touch you again, 73, everybody.